Hey guys, welcome back. It is time yet again for another one of my men's devotionals. It is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. And I've been praying a lot about what exactly I should bring for this devotional. Because if I'm being honest, this one was really hard. There's a lot going on in the world right now. I mean, the Bible does say that there's going to be a lot of things happening in the end days, and we're seeing darkness ramp up like never before. But of course, it's also a time for those of us who know the light to shine even brighter. So as I was praying about exactly what I should bring, I'll be honest, I didn't really figure it out until when I woke up this morning. I saw this concept. It's been scattered here and there. Some people have sent me posts or videos of this. And with everything going on in the world right now, and even a lot of things going on in my own personal life, I felt like maybe this was a topic that I should talk on. You know, I've mentioned before about different seasons that we find ourselves. I've mentioned before about different seasons that we find ourselves in. The idea I want to talk about today is Day 41. For those of you that don't know what that is, I've seen a lot of videos about this, clothing, different things like that. The idea of Day 41 is, in the Bible, we see a lot of different concepts of the number 40. You know, Noah in the ark, you know, it rained 40 days and 40 nights. Moses, who spent 40 years in the wilderness. You know, 40 years in the wilderness before the burning bush, and 40 years in the wilderness with the children of Israel. You know, Yeshua, 40 days in the wilderness, fasting and praying, and then he was tempted. So we see all these different numbers of 40 in the Bible. The idea of Day 41 is, yes, there was that time in the wilderness, there was that time of testing, that time of refinement, whatever it was. But then at some point, Day 41 came. Day 41 was when breakthrough happened, or when change happened, or when opportunities arose. That really hit me, because no matter what we're going through, no matter who we are, no matter where we are, all of us at some point in our life have had or are currently going through our own 40-day experience, our own wilderness experience, if you will. You know, just a couple examples. For instance, I mentioned Yeshua's 40 days in the wilderness, and I want to read about that real quick in Matthew chapter 4. If we go to Matthew chapter 4, I want to just look at the first two verses, okay? Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, afterwards he was hungry. Yeshua went into the wilderness 40 days and 40 nights, and he was hungry. And what does the verse right after that say? You know, verse 3. Now when the tempter came to him, and then we know, a lot of us know the rest of that. But the idea I want to focus on there is, he was tested and fasted for 40 days, and then the test came. And we all know he passed that test. There is one 40-day experience I really want to hone in on today. And it's in the story of David, actually, and Goliath. And I must have just glossed over it before. I never noticed it, but I want to read it for you. It's 1 Samuel chapter 17, story of David and Goliath. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 16. And the Philistine drew near, Goliath, and the Philistine drew near and presented himself 40 days, morning and evening. So, of course, the armies of Israel go up against the Philistines, and they bring out their champion, Goliath, the giant, Goliath of Gath. And he mocks and berates and torments the people of God for 40 days, and nothing happened. Again, like I said, we all have some type of this 40-day experience in our lives. No matter if it's with work, with family, with relationships, with friendships, with just anything, health, whatever it is. You know, the Bible talks about, in this world you will have trouble, you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I overcome the world. You know, coming to faith in Yeshua doesn't mean everything suddenly gets better. A lot of us know that it says you will have tribulation. But my question is, where's our focus? Yes, we are going to go through these giant experiences, these wilderness experiences, these hungry experiences, these times of testing. But where is our focus? Let's look at the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 12, we're going to look at the first 2 verses. So, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Pay attention to verse 2. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Another way to read that is, looking unto Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. So my question is, where's our focus in these times of testing? It's supposed to be on Yeshua, the author, the originator, the finisher, the perfecter of our faith. Another question is, are we tired? I know for me personally, with a lot of the things that the Father is allowing me to experience right now, I am tired all the time. And it'd be easy to give up. And it's easy to give up when we are trying to do things in our own strength. But what does the Bible say about that? Let's look at it. Isaiah chapter 40. Isaiah chapter 40, I want to read verses 28 through 31. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, Yahweh, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might he increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. And we all know this verse, so pay attention. Verse 31. But those who wait on Yahweh shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Yahweh neither faints nor grows weary. That's where our strength should be. That's where our focus should be. When we are tired, knowing that He is our strength. He is the perfecter, the finisher, the author, the originator of our faith. And so that answers the question right there, because my next question was going to be, who is your strength? Who is our strength? I want to look at 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Let's look at verses 8 through 10. Concerning this thing, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me, talking about Paul's thorn in the flesh. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I would rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in the infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distress, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. We're going to experience those 40-day times in our lives, but where's our focus? And if we're tired, why are we tired? Is it because we're trying to do things in our own strength? Or are we focusing on who our true strength is, and that is Yeshua the Messiah, the King, the Holy One of Israel? So the 40 days. What is the point of the 40 days? Whether it's 40 days, 40 years, literally, prophetically, what is the point of these times of trial? Let's see what James has to say about it. So in James chapter 1, I want to look at a few verses. So first off, let's look at James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience or endurance. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. The testing, the 40 days, the 40 years, the times of trial, the times of struggle, the times of pain, what's the end goal of that? Let's look at chapter 1, verse 12 of the same book. Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. The 40 days that we are going through this life, this time, whatever the season you're in, the point of the 40 days is for what comes after the 41st day. Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he's been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. It's a time of testing to see where our faith is, where our strength is, where our focus is. You know, we're called to endure to the end. Those who endure to the end will be saved. Going back to the story of David and Goliath, where was David's focus? This Philistine, this giant, this warrior was mocking the people of God for 40 days straight, morning and evening. I want to go back to that story for a second, because I want to show you where David's focus was. Let's look at 1 Samuel chapter 17 again, but I want to focus on verses 45 through 47. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of Yahweh Sabaoth, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day Yahweh will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Then all the assembly shall know that Yahweh does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is Yahweh's, and he will give you into my hands." David's focus, David's strength was in the God of Israel, Yeshua, our Messiah, Yahweh, the I Am. And I want to focus on one other part. Let's look at the first half of verse 50 in the same chapter. Drop down. "So David prevailed over the Philistines with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword." Actually, we're going to read that whole verse. "So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in the hand of David." And we all know he goes and takes Goliath's sword and takes Goliath's head with his own sword. But with that, David's hope and his strength was not in his weapons. All he had was a sling and a stone. And yet he killed this giant. There was no sword in the hand of David. Why is that? I'll tell you why. "You come to me with a sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of Yahweh Sabaoth, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." David didn't need a sword. He didn't need a weapon. He knew his strength was in Yeshua. He knew his strength was his God. And through faith, he defeated that giant. Remember, the giant was mocking the people of Israel for 40 days. What happened day 41? Victory. Because he didn't lose heart. He didn't lose faith. Day 41, David slayed the giant. Day 41, or year 41, because after 40 years in the wilderness, Moses saw the burning bush. Day 41, Yeshua defeated the tempter. We cannot lose heart, and we cannot give up. Let's look at Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6, verses 8 and 9. "For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart." We are called to endure, to not lose heart. For in due season we will reap the reward. Blessed is the man who endures temptation and receives the crown of life. And the thing is if we don't endure, he who endures to the end will be saved. It's not enough to say, years ago or yesterday or whatever, I trusted in him and I said a prayer and I did these things. If you don't continue, think of Moses. Moses was with the children of Israel, leading them in the wilderness to the promised land for 40 years. 40 years in the wilderness with the children of Israel. And what happened? Moses, in a time of anger and flesh, disobeyed the voice of God, the word of God. And because of Moses' disobedience, his day 41, his year 41, he didn't get to enter the promised land because he fell short. But then Joshua and Caleb, who also came out of the land of Egypt, who also spent 40 years in the wilderness, their year 41, their day 41, they entered the promised land and took it because of obedience and because of who they put their focus in. Remember the 10 and the 2. The 10 spies brought a bad report. Joshua and Caleb brought a good report because they knew where their strength was, and it wasn't in sword and spear. It was in the God of Israel. So my challenge to you is don't quit. Don't give up. The idea of the 40, especially with the story of the children of Israel in the wilderness, we all know that that's a prophetic picture of the time on this earth between now and when we enter the true kingdom, when Yeshua returns. So we are called to endure and to put our hope and our trust and our faith and our strength in him, without which we will not see the kingdom. There's a quote I saw, and I want to share it again. The quote was, "Future blessing is contingent upon present obedience." There's a blessing for endurance. There's a blessing for making it through your time of testing, your 40 days, your 40 years, whatever it is. So we have a choice. So my challenge to you is choose this day who you will serve. Are we going to focus on all the things going on in our life? Are we going to focus on the one who is faithful, who is strength? I know I personally am going through a time when a lot of things are unsure. But one thing I do know is He is consistent. He is faithful. Remember, future blessing is contingent upon present obedience. So what's your day 41 going to look like? Shalom.